Hey everybody, I'm author Sean de Gallai and you're tuning in to Irish Dancing Magazine's Storytime slot. Last time I read some of my Unicorn Puppy book, but today I'm going to move on to my favourite book, which is my best-selling book called Stepsisters. And Stepsisters is for kids aged 7 to 11, and I'm really proud of it because it was really quite easy to write. The idea came to me very quickly and I wrote it very quickly as well, and it was a lot of fun. It's got a lovely little story in it, and it's got a nice message as well. So the story is about two best friends called Tanya and Siobhan. And Siobhan is an Irish dancer, and Tanya wants to join Irish dancing, but she's a little bit nervous. But Siobhan somehow manages to convince her. So they join Irish dancing together, and they're going to competitions and dance class and fashion and everything like that. And they're having the best of times until Tanya starts getting quite good. And that's when there's a little problem, because the girls start getting quite competitive against each other, especially when it's coming up to Worlds, because both girls are dying to win the Worlds Under-11 Championships. So it's a fun story, and I'm going to read you a little bit of it now. I'll start off into chapter 2. I'll just give you a little rundown of what happened in chapter 1. In chapter 1, Siobhan and Tanya are messing around in their back garden and they're playing blindfold dance off, a little game they like to do, and they record each other and then watch the steps back. And Siobhan says to Tanya at the end of her mess around, she says, "Wow, you're really good, Tanya. You should join my dance class. I think of all the fun we'd have." But Tanya is quite nervous and she doesn't want to, but she keeps thinking about it, and she thinks about maybe it could be good and maybe it's right, so maybe I should do it. So I'll start into chapter 2. And I hope you enjoy. Chapter 2. Tanya crept into bed and wrapped her sleep mask around her head. She couldn't stop thinking about what Siobhan had said. She really did enjoy dancing, skipping and leaping around, matching her movement to the rhythm. She loved how the adrenaline made her feel powerful. She knew she was quite good at it too. The steps were easy for her to remember, and her legs knew exactly what to do. Everyone said she was like a miniature version of her mum, Andrea, who had been the lead dancer in a famous show called Step About many years ago. If she did take up dancing, she could spend lots more time with her best friend. Thinking of this, she became sad. Siobhan was going to New York for the summer, and Tanya didn't have anyone else to hang out with. Tanya and her parents sat in silence at breakfast the following morning, her father reading the newspaper, her mother reading emails. Tanya lifted a spoonful of cornflakes high into the air and let them splash back into the bowl. Her mother frowned. "What's the matter, dear?" "Siobhan wants me to start dance class." "But sweetheart, I thought that wasn't your thing." "I'd like to give it another try," said Tanya. "Do you remember when you were a little girl? We practiced for ages and ages, and you entered that talent contest and you were very excited?" Tanya pursed her lips. "You got so nervous when you went up on stage, you peed your pants and cried. You totally froze. I had to carry you off stage. You weren't yourself for weeks after. You wouldn't even go back to play school." "She's a big girl now. She's much more mature," her father interrupted. "Dad's right," said Tanya. "And anyways, I do love dancing, and I know I'm good. I know I'm better than Siobhan, and she's been dancing for years. She's still in Mangrad." Andrea looked at her husband. Frank spoke softly. "I don't think there's any harm in letting her give class a go. If it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world." "Okay, fine," said Andrea. "Try a class and see how you like it, but don't come crying to me when you realise it's not all it's cracked up to be." Tanya smiled and scampered off. "You know, I always wanted her to follow in my footsteps, but I don't think it's for her. I just don't want her to be scarred again, Frank," said Andrea. "It's encouragement she needs. You're overthinking it, Andrea. Let her learn for herself. It's probably just another phase, like with the gymnastics. Sooner or later, she'll be into something else." Chapter 3. Siobhan stood outside the community centre, which was next to the church with the big pyramid roof near the park. A large lollipop bulged in her cheek, and her lips and tongue were blue from the sugary treat. Tanya strolled slowly up the street. "You ready, Eddie?" Siobhan said, grinning. "I think so. Will there be many others here?" said Tanya. Siobhan laughed. "A few. Don't worry, they won't bite. Besides, I'll be there to protect you." Before they entered the community centre, they heard someone shouting, Hi, hello, I know you two. You're Tanya and Siobhán, aren't you? It was Christian, a boy from their class. He was 11 years old, but already 5'10" and really skinny with a mop of big brown hair. His family was from Finland. Christian was born in Ireland, but his English wasn't very good. He walked towards the girl, a dog's leash trailing behind. "What are you doing, Christian?" Siobhan asked. "Oh, just walking my dog." The girls laughed. You don't have a dog," said Tanya. "Yes, I do. He's just wearing an invisibility cloak. I'll bid you both good day," said Christian with an exaggerated huff, and he continued down the street. Tanya and Siobhan laughed. "That boy is weird," said Tanya. She had momentarily forgotten how nervous she was about dance class, but when she entered the hall and heard the music and thumping feet, her fear returned. She walked behind Siobhan, almost holding on to her t-shirt. To Tanya, it looked like the teacher was a woman with a face full of sharp teeth who shouted and screamed at hundreds of slave-like robot kids. She swallowed hard. The music ended and there was an eerie silence as the children stretched. But in actual fact, there were only 10 girls there and they were all smiling. Siobhan tugged Tanya's arm and she snapped out of her trance. "Come on, let's get changed, unless you want to dance in jeans." Tanya recognised all the other children from school, but she had never talked to any of them. They all went to St. Anne's School in Drumcondra, which had hundreds of pupils and hundreds of classes. She felt thankful that Siobhan was in her class. Tanya was 6 months older than Siobhan. Soon she would turn 11. Mrs. Leonard, the dance teacher, ordered them to warm up. Tanya's tummy was still full of nerves. As she lay on her back to do sit-ups, a surprisingly loud fart came out. Tanya and Siobhan burst into convulsions of laughter. Mrs. Leonard finished the warm-up and shot them both a deathly stare. Tanya became pale. "I don't want any messing in my class. Now get into your groups. You're new. What's your name?" "Tanya," she replied timidly. "Over to the bum-grout group, please." Siobhan waved sadly at Tanya, who looked tearful. "Mrs. Leonard is scary," said Tanya. Siobhan nodded. "I heard she goes crazy at Worlds. Don't worry, this bit is over in half an hour. We'll be back together for the Cayley team dances after that, okay?" Tanya trudged across to the other beginners. There were 5 girls in that group. "Okay, does everyone remember how to do jump through trees?" said Mrs. Leonard. "Tanya, do you know them?" "Yes, I think so." "Okay, off we go." Mrs. Leonard watched for a few minutes, then disappeared back to her senior dancers. But Tanya noticed that she kept looking over at her. Tanya felt awful. When Mrs. Leonard came back, Tanya was surprised to see her nod enthusiastically as she danced her steps. "Good stuff, girls. Let's try our side step." The side step was easy for Tanya. Her mother had shown her when she was little. Mrs. Leonard's face became serious. "Tanya, you're a quick learner. You'll be advancing in no time. Are you any relation to Andrea Armstrong by any chance?" Tanya nodded. "She's my mum." Mrs. Leonard's eyes lit up. "That explains it. Looks like I might have another champion in my hands," she winked. Tanya felt amazing. She watched Siobhan and the senior dancers practicing cool tricks and wished she was in their group. Before long, it was time for the class to practice their 8-hand Cayley dance. Mrs. Leonard asked Tanya to join in with Siobhan's team because one of the girls was missing. Siobhan was her partner. The 2 girls couldn't contain their smiles as they held hands and danced and weaved with the other girls. Tanya was still smiling when the class ended. "Well?" Siobhan asked. "It was amazing. I love dancing with you." "Well, you better catch up quick then so we can go to competitions together." "I will, I promise," said Tanya. She felt confident and determined. So that's the start of Stepsisters, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like me to read more for you, please do tune in again to Irish Dance Magazine Storytime slot. Alternatively, this book is available as an audiobook read by the wonderful Ciara Sexton, and that's available on Amazon. So that's all from me for this slot, and I hope you have a lovely afternoon and evening for yourselves. Bye-bye.